you knew the kind of energies I felt before just trying to learn what my rights were in situations where I was being violated and oppressed horribly, systematically, you would know the kinds of grit that it takes to fight through what you're going through, to fight for your own freedom, to fight for your own life, to where it got me into places where I needed to speak out and I needed to write in order to get there. So you wouldn't know the kind of courage that I've had to fight through just to be able to get to the points of being able to write this stuff out or to study about it. Because those people simply didn't want to give me a chance to breathe, to live, to feel great in my own life. And who knows what their actual rights are in this country anymore. They've been so stripped the fuck away. They want to place a muzzle on everybody out here. Got to get them to shut the fuck up so that they can feel protected, and they're also cowardice ass moves against us and against the public at large on many levels. Levels that people who are getting oppressed simply don't have to understand if they don't want to. Go ahead, don't understand this stuff. I understand levels that these people will go to oppress people in this country. And I know the kind of energy that is present in the violation of your human rights in order to do so. This is coming from top positions in this country, top areas of police work, top areas of military and courts and systems in place. This is the kind of thing that is coming from the medical community. This is the kind of thing that are coming from people in all sorts of fields where we are still at very large in a very dangerous position in this country. When we allow for the kind of slavery that still exists today and the psychopaths to run what they're doing over people, you're simply being brainwashed if you don't think that these things are happening when they clearly are. People have to be willing to come at this from the heart, more than come at this from a place of compassion to understand that kind of slavery that we are in today, because in the heart of the matter is where you're going to find what real love looks like and be able to show people the kind of harsh reality that no one wants to portray to them, to show them what the reality is going to look like. But if you really want to love people at the soul level for who they really are, you really have to try and open people up to understand this kind of thing. This is the condition of the modern human condition today. They're all in a schizoid state of mind that they don't even understand who they are themselves anymore, and they don't know who they are. They don't know who their enemy is, and in fact most people are so brain dead that they are protecting the enemy with their own actions and haven't gotten to any of the knowledge about their rights or the state of this human condition I'm talking about here. They have absolutely no idea it even exists. And this is how they brainwash society today. Just get them speaking on a whole bunch of stuff that they're full of crap with, and just leave them to be full of crap. And that's when people need to learn that what they're dealing with is a spiritual warfare that we're in. We have to know it for ourselves, and we have to know the enemies. And most people know neither. They sit there and just go idly along with whatever the world is doing, and I simply do not agree. And they sit there in this state of mind with the very key to freedom in their hands, knowing, and you know what they're doing. They're slapping these keys right out of the hands of the individuals. Like, who needs these anyway? Who put those there and slap out the possibility out of your hands while trying to speak it to you as if they're the ones offering you this so-called freedom? So yeah, people do. They will literally hate and try to hurt those who are trying to give up their own strength to truth and to give them the advice that they have to give on love. They'll straight up rebel against those who are simply just trying to get it right for themselves before allowing other people to get it so wrong over them. If you don't want to fight for freedom, I don't feel like you even love yourself. See, what is it? When it's turning the other cheek, what does it really mean? It doesn't mean forgive your oppressor endlessly. It doesn't mean love your enemy endlessly. The supposed notion of love your enemy is not that it means is just to turn the other cheek and allow your enemies to keep on doing whatever means they feel is necessary over your life. These are simply false Christian notions to believe that loving your enemy is just turning the other cheek, letting them do it to you again. And those who are receiving that kind of notion are they're rejecting the truth on the matter. Even though they say they want to be free, they're allowing themselves to be caged and trapped inside of a reality that's just mentally barred, emotionally and spiritually barred from you to be even able to own your own thoughts. So you have to keep turning the other cheek while you're bringing out the truth to them. They're just a bust slapping it out of your hands while they're wearing the shackles on their ankles, necks, and wrists instead of listening to you or taking heed to what you are saying. They're telling you that something is wrong with you for telling them that they need to understand freedom and morality in this country from what's keeping us all enslaved. And that something is wrong for you to try and bring out that information. And when people do that, you know what they're really doing. You know what turning the other cheek really means. It means you grab that key and you keep bringing it back to them over and over and over again and again. Keep bringing it back to them and you tell them no more. If you don't fight for freedom, how can you say you love your own children? Please do not tell me if you're not willing to fight for freedom in this country that you love children, because that's a bold-faced lie. And I'm not going to fight for freedom in this country that goes up at the same time that says that you can love your children, yet you can go amiss when it comes to statements like these. You're an outright coward and you're an outright liar if you make that statement to try and even represent itself to be true. No parent loves their children who can make that statement at a soul level, at the deepest fundamental understandings, that they don't even love themselves enough to fight for their own freedom. So how can they love their children? They're setting themselves into a world of slavery and just simply okay with it. Some people are just too calcified in their minds to realize their own true thoughts or innate feelings on these matters, and actions are wrong on the deliberate level where they can tell you that they love their children and then claim that they know what's going on in the world, but aren't going to ever be willing to stand up to their oppressor and do anything about it. They are basically saying, I know that the world is enslaved, and I don't intend on doing anything about it. Two inseparable issues here, but I think that the kind of being that has it within them to love anybody doesn't have it in them to say that they're not willing to press on the real issues here that are going to determine those children's lives in the future. Can you even tell those children that you love them? Can these children even tell themselves that they love themselves? Probably not. However, all I can say is that I hate that person. I hate that person because they're obviously ever wanted to be in that condition called slavery, and then you're just going to be living a lie. You're destroyed within. Nobody would hope to even care to go up and try to reform these kind of connections that are happening to you, but it would take a literal act of God, I feel. And I don't mean that figuratively, but literally. I don't have the power to transform human beings. It would take an act of God to do that, to reform this entire planet, to take action until something is done about the infinitely more power that we would have as people to do the right things in the world. But people are just, they're okay with it being this way. You have to admit to the truth that That is, you're not willing to fight for freedom and take active stance for truth in this country. Don't tell me you care about the generations to come after, including your own biological children, because you don't. Those who are unwilling to fight for freedom are the state worshippers, state enforcer thugs, pacifists, defeatists, the nihilists, most traditional regionalists, and New Age regionalists, the left-brained, egg-headed, ultra-skeptic, etc. all have one thing in common. They would never lift a finger to defend true freedom in this country because they are all ultimately cowards without the slightest bit of true courage or having anything of grit on their tongues at all. They're all cowards. Pacifists are the worst kind of people when it comes to defending anyone's freedom because these people won't do anything. They will tell you that it is not within their right to defend their own rights because they're just pacified into a literal self-loathing state. They will never take a stance at self-defense against someone coming up against themselves or anyone else. You have to understand both are non-aggressive, which are the sacred feminine dynamic, but then you also have to step into the masculine self-defense principle as well, and that is to defend your rights and your life and your freedom. And pacifists are just unwilling to step into either territory to comprehend what it is to do that is right in order to defend it. Then you have people who feel as though they have already been defeated and simply say that, well, the government is too powerful and we can never win, so people will say they'll back down. What you need is an AR-15 or an AK-47. You can't defend a modern-day military without one. And if you think making claims about this is wrong, maybe you're right. But I don't want to be right I don't want to be wrong if I am right. And you can't defend the modern day military with that kind of mindset, but I'm willing to take my chances with my AK, so don't speak for me. I might die trying, but at least I'm willing to stand up against the evil that has conducted Duress without any fucking right whatsoever to do so. I would rather live my whole life than think that I can be defeated. I can be this defeated mindset forever, be shoved into a box, shoved into a grave with no chance to ever fight for the real chance to ever make anything of my life at all. That's to fight the real evil in this country. I simply don't want future generations to ever have to live as I've had to. Not one, and not ever. So I would rather conduct myself in a way right now that even if I was feeling unsafe right now, I would still stand with the other people who are willing to take the side on doing what is right than taking the safe road and just taking the road that everybody else takes. Safe might not get you killed, but it will also do and allow for a whole lot of immutable evil to continue to permeate our world and the future generations to get much worse. If we are willing to stand up against this evil now and do something about it, your future generations, your children's lives are done. And then you have the nihilists, who don't care about anything, along with people who are religions, or who are running the religions, and especially these New Age modern day religions, who are all right-brained and who all think like they all have the answers and peace and love, and you can pop a rainbow bright on a Bible and be gay and all that other kind of stuff. It's just not right. You're wrong. And these are real psychopaths and the monsters in this world that need to be prepared for to defend ourselves against. Look, I consider myself to be a little skeptical when you're overly skeptical and you're all the way over on the left brain egg-headed part of the spectacle, or ultra skeptical about everything, and you're just as bad as those New Age religionists that won't accept anything taking place right in front of their very own eyes and take a stance against right away. That just because it's all conspiratorial and just because you claim that everything happens for a reason, that it's all God's doing, or that God somehow ordained it, and that nothing is going to go above or beyond what God's reality was to be built and made. But no, that's really taking an egg-headed stance to the facts. Because, I'm sorry, because you have to study and you have to know these evils in order to protect yourself from evil. You can't just go on thinking that, all the evils can go ahead and plan for my demise. I don't have to know anything about my demise, or that they even have plans for demise. I'm just going to count on God to protect me from all of it. When in reality, you have to be actively protecting yourself, or many things can come up strategically that are going to stage up your life for its end. And if you're not willing to look around you and see the very things that I'm talking about happening right before your very own eyes, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to try and defend anyone that doesn't care to go into places on my account for saying these things, because I'm sorry, but I think you're a fucking idiot if you think that that's the way it is, and that's okay just to walk away from something just because you think it's too conspiratorial for you. I'm sorry, but look at the chemtrail being laid down at 8,000 feet, which condensation can't even format scientifically. They know nothing about the thermodynamics and the fluid mechanics that go along with these things, and then they claim that it's water vapor, and that somehow water vapor will linger up there for 6 hours. Yeah, okay. It's not particulate matter that you'll say that you're an ultra skeptic, that you have to have some kind of scientific mind to be able to research these things. No, you just have to be human enough to really look at and see what these cowards are doing. Ultimately, all these people are is cowards, and that is something that nobody can change, because that's something that is eternally spiritual work that needs to take place inside of themselves if they're ever going to develop any kind of true courage, any kind of true resistance. That needs to be done on an individual basis, where the person develops enough self-love to say, I will not be stepped on, I will not be pushed over, I will not be enslaved, and I am not going to fold. You will not take my rights away without consequence. You want to continue? You have consequences to pay for. You might be able to take my life, but you will not take my rights without facing the consequences for taking my life. And if I have to inflict that consequence myself, I'll do it. Maybe you'll face the consequences after life, but I'll be damned if I'm not going to take action to make my life better in the face of all of this physical world, all that shit that's been done to me. Because I'm not gonna go down willingly without a physical fight. If I have to go down in that kind of way, people want me murdered, you need me murdered for that fucking long G. You really think you're gonna get away with that over my entire life? No. Over my fucking dead body, bitch. This doesn't end well, because it either has to happen where the police see these things and take action to where I do feel protected, or this motherfucker is gonna get his ass split. And I'm not even kidding. You can't go to those levels inside of a person's life. It's the same thing I told him. I've been in duress for this fucking long, G, and I just came to find out that you were the one hacking me this entire time. And you want to try and act like I'm not going to be able to get my story out there or get heard? Real freedom, or true freedom, comes from people that have nothing left to lose. You know what? I have nothing left to lose. This motherfucker took me for way too long. And not to mention how much he's taken away from my past. My current is gone. My future is gone. In those ways. And it's because of the poisonous abuse that's happened to me, and the ways that my body is now, I'm fighting. I'm having to fight for my actual life. So, motherfucker has got to be out of his fucking last little brain cell if he thinks that he's going to get away with this over my entire life. play about me as if I haven't got anything left to lose now. Think about it. I'll fucking take my whole house and drop it on that motherfucker's head for where he just moved in my fucking life. So yeah, with me mentioning things to the police for many years, and my thinking that my past is perfect evidence for how I've been in duress because of how this man pushed me inside of his little hacking spree up in my whole entire life, trying to poison me up and take me out of the earth. I'm sorry, but anyone that thinks that they can get away with doing what this man just did, he's got another thing coming, whether it's here on earth or in the courts of heaven. I guarantee you that.